Hello again, William. I'd like to outdoors, and today I'd like to thank you for joining me for another Burn Friday Burn. It's a hot one too, but we're still gonna have a burn. I'd like to get right into this and start out by saying something about time. Yeah, in our own minds, we don't feel like we have enough of it. Our schedules are cram packed with stuff to do, and we don't seem to be able to get anything done because our schedules don't have enough time in them. But I would like to encourage you with a word from here, because for everything there is a season and a time for every activity under heaven. You've got enough time. If you believe the scriptures, you got enough time. So I'm going to use a little of my time to go get the burn going. I'll be right back. And there we have it. Now Smokey went again. So, back to where I was at, talking about time. In Ecclesiastes chapter 3, is where I just read that, and that was verse 1. So we're going to go through Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verses 1 through 14. Rather lengthy passage, but I think it all has relevance to time. And it begins, a time for everything. For everything there is a season, a time for every activity under heaven, a time to be born and a time to die. I want to hold my finger right there for a second. Last week, Burn Friday Burn, I said something about that. A time to be born, being born into Christ. Because we know one day our time will be up. Verse 2. A time to be born and a time to die. A time to plant and a time to harvest. A time to kill and a time to heal. A time to tear down and a time to build up. A time to cry and a time to laugh. A time to grieve and a time to dance. A time to scatter stones and a time to gather stones. A time to embrace and a time to turn away. A time to search and a time to quit searching. You know, that was part of last week's as well. Searching for that precious treasure. A time to keep and a time to throw away. A time to tear and a time to mend. A time to be quiet and a time to speak. A time to love and a time to hate. A time for war and a time for peace. What do people really get for all their hard work? I have seen the burden God has placed on us all. Yet God has made everything beautiful for its own time. He has planted eternity in the heart of humans. But even so, people cannot see the whole scope of God's work from beginning to end. So I concluded there's nothing better than to be happy and enjoy ourselves as long as we can. And people should eat and drink and enjoy the fruits of their labors, for these are gifts from God. And I know that whatever God does is final. Nothing can be added to it, or nothing can be taken from it. God's purpose is that people should fear Him. And you know, I want to say something about that word right there, fear. God's purpose is that people should fear Him. God wants us to reverence Him, not to be afraid of Him. Because if you're afraid of somebody, you're not going to ask them for anything. And that's what God says. He says to ask. Now, He told us to seek and knock. How are we going to ask for something if we're afraid of someone? So He wants us to reverence Him even more so than what we reverence our earthly fathers and mothers. And you know, that was the first commandment with a promise to it. We should honor our mother and our father. So think about time. Even though you, in your human thinking, don't feel like you have enough of it, or like you feel like yours is running out, remember what I said last week. There's no time like the present for seeking a relationship with Jesus Christ. By all means, do that while you have time. Whatever God does is final. We see in the Bible where our days are numbered, and one day your number will be up. We know from, if anybody has even looked at the human race or the things going on around you, you know that from the moment you take that first breath in life, you begin to die. So there's no better time than the present to prepare for that day. Like I said last week, go back and watch that video if you didn't pay much attention to it. If you just viewed it for the purpose of viewing it, watch it. Study what it says. Follow the map to that precious treasure. And when your time is up, you'll be ready. because nothing can be added to it or taken from it. So, we can't add and we can't take away. God has set salvation's plan, and that's the way it is. So, again, thank you for joining me for another Burn Friday Burn. And if you haven't done so already, please tap on that little cross down in the corner. Subscribe screen will pop up, and you can touch on it and subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell and select all so that you won't miss another Burn Friday Burn or Wednesday Word either. So like and subscribe, and join me again next week for another Burn Friday Burn. God bless you. Say howdy, folks. Join us again next time. Tell them, Reba. Say join us again next time.